What's the most amazing retort you've ever overheard that completely silenced a parent? I was unjustly found guilty in my daughter's passing, and I was made to spend the next decade mourning her inside a prison cell. Upon my release, I didn't have any place to live, and so I chose to make a temporary home right next to my daughter's gravesite. Since the area was a deteriorated section of the city, no one really paid any attention. I continued to sleep there for several weeks, and at one point even thought about going back to prison, but at that time, being near her was the only thing that made me happy. Actually, that and cigarettes. And in order to grasp the next section of my story, you should know that I was still readjusting to interacting and joking around with people who weren't fellow inmates. So I was at the same shop I always went to, purchasing the same flowers I always bought, when I turned to a shopper and said, "I got caught stepping out on my girl last week. Which of these bunches of flowers says, 'I'm sorry, let's reconcile with some sex?'" The guy nearly choked on his coffee from laughing, and I was mostly content with getting my daily dose of morbid humor. However, just then a woman with children spun around and tried to start an argument with me. She accused me of being someone who mindlessly follows others, for not having the ability to refuse a woman. The second she started to speak, I'd already resolved to pay her no mind. Though right then the man ahead of me turned around and asked, "You've got 4 kids, when have you ever turned down something you wanted?" Her face turned bright red, and her children tugged at her clothing and asked what the man meant. It strikes me that it was the hardest I had laughed in what felt like forever, really not since my daughter passed away. I just about sprinted back to the cemetery so I could share the story with her. But this time, something felt off, something had shifted. It was like I was observing myself from the outside, you know. Just a gaunt guy, dressed in tattered and dirty clothes, just rambling to no one in the center of the graveyard. Following that, I began the process of trying to fix my life, and honestly, it's all because of an encounter with a Karen at the 7-Eleven.